On Monday, August 20, 2007, in Lafourche Parish, Louisiana, Buck and Judy Hebert grew concerned. A coworker of their daughter-in-law had told them that she hadn't appeared at work. The coworker told Amy's husband Chad about the situation, and he called the police to conduct a welfare check. In the meantime, Buck went over to the home where Amy Hebert lived and didn't receive an answer when he knocked on the door. Amy had two children, 7-year-old Braxton Hebert and 9-year-old Camille Hebert, and the Heberts were obviously concerned about their safety. When no one answered the knock on the front door, Buck broke into the utility room of the home by climbing through a window. As he navigated to the kitchen and dining area, he noticed blood splattered all over the floor. When he made it up to the master bedroom, what he saw shook him. This is the story of Amy's revenge. Not too much is known about Amy Hebert's upbringing, except that she was born in 1967 as Amy Talbot and was from Lafourche Parish. She was an evangelical Christian who worked as a teacher's aide at Lockport Lower Elementary School in Lockport, Louisiana. In 1988, Amy began taking prescription medication to treat seizures she began suffering after a car accident, according to her doctor. In August 1991, Amy married Chad Hebert, and in 1994, they moved into the home on 118 St. Anthony Street in Matthews, Louisiana. 4 years later, their daughter, Camille, was born. Then 2 years after that, the couple introduced Braxton to the world. In July 2005, Amy and Chad separated. About a year later, they divorced after Amy discovered Chad had been having an affair with a woman at work named Kimberly. By this point, Amy, who shared joint custody of the children, had been chronically depressed, according to court documents. She had grown resentful of Chad and Kimberly, both of whom had grown increasingly fond of each other and even planned a wedding for 2008. The tipping point for Amy, however, was when she observed her children's growing adoration of and relationship with Kimberly. Amy was beside herself, according to information Amy told the doctor following the events of August 20, 2007. She said she had lost weight, did not have a good appetite, was having trouble sleeping, and lost interest in things. She felt fatigued and worthless, said the doctor. She had trouble concentrating and remembering things, and had thoughts of suicide. She even complained that Satan was speaking to her and pushed her away from God. In the midst of the chaos, Amy began plotting her next move. On Monday, August 20, 2007, everything seemed normal outside Amy's household. But inside, Amy had been spiraling out of control. Her doctors claimed she had been suffering from psychotic episodes. That day, Amy approached Camille with a kitchen knife, and in a frenzied attack, stabbed her daughter 30 to 35 times in the back, 30 to 35 times in the chest, and 30 times in the scalp. The 9-year-old suffered perforating wounds, meaning the knife went completely through her. She had 5 defensive wounds on her left arm and 9 defensive wounds on her right arm. She had bled to death. Tragically, during the attack, Camille would say, quote, "Mommy, I don't want to die. I love you," unquote. Amy would reply, quote, "I love you too, but I can't let Daddy take you," unquote. Braxton suffered 20 to 25 stab wounds to his chest, 50 to 55 wounds to his back, and had also suffered a number of perforating wounds. He had 5 defensive wounds on his left arm and 1 or 2 defensive wounds on his right arm. He also bled to death. Similar to Camille, Amy told Braxton that she loved him but couldn't let his father have him. Buck followed a trail of blood from the kitchen to the master bedroom. When he entered the bedroom, he saw an absolute bloodbath. There was blood everywhere. He saw Amy and the children lying in the bed, drenched in blood. He quickly ran outside the room but couldn't leave the house because the door was deadbolted from the inside. Meanwhile, the police arrived after the children's father, Chad, had called for a welfare check. The police broke the kitchen door down and entered the house. When they got to the master bedroom, Amy stood up, raised the knife, and shouted, "Get the F out." They used a taser to subdue her and get the children away from her. A walk around the room would reveal that Amy had several knives on the bed, presumably in case the others would break in the attack, and that she had also stabbed and killed the family dog. After stabbing every living thing in the home, she had attempted to take her own life by slicing her wrists, which exposed tendons, stabbing herself in the chest, which caused both her lungs to collapse, and stabbing herself in the skull, neck, and face, which wounded both her eyelids. Among the evidence gathered from the home were two shocking letters, one addressed to Chad and his mother, Judy. To Chad, Amy wrote the following, quote, "You wanted your own life? You got it. I'll be damned if you get the kids too. Your ambition and greed for money won over your love for your family. The hell you put us through, and I do mean all of us, because you don't know what the kids used to go through because of course you weren't here. This is no kind of life for them to live. I sure hope you two lying, adultering, home-wrecking whores can have more kids because you can't have these. Actually, I hope you can't, because then you'll only produce more lying, home-wrecking, adultering whores like yourselves. Maybe you can buy some with all of your money you will make from this house and the life insurance benefits you'll get from the kids," unquote. In a letter to Judy, Amy wrote, quote, "You run from the very thing you support. Monica pairs up with a married man, becomes a kept woman, and your response is maybe she's in love with him. So that makes it okay? How stupid. Your sons have affairs, brings these whores home, and you welcome them all in. I guess it's okay for them to hurt the family as long as it is not you. Well, when you started delivering my kids to that whore Kimberly, that was the last straw. To all my friends, thanks for all the help and support you tried to give me. I love you all. Sorry, Daddy, Celeste, and Renee. I love you all too." Amy was charged with first-degree murder of the two children. She pled not guilty by reason of insanity. Her defense painted a picture of a woman who was, through a psychotic episode, egged on by Satan to do the deed. During her trial, a doctor who treated Amy said that the day after the crime, she was unresponsive. 2 days later, he met with her again, and she was not eating and was afraid of getting sick and vomiting. He said that Amy told him she had heard the words of Satan for a long time and had pushed them away with the words of Christ in prayer. She noted that she had not planned to kill herself or her children, but Satan took over and she snapped. She said Satan was in the room laughing at her as she was covered in wounds. Quote, "The patient is obviously psychotic," unquote, the doctor testified. Other doctors who treated Amy said she had a history of depression and anxiety. She was prescribed a variety of drugs, including antidepressant Paxil in January 2004 and anti-anxiety medicine Zoloft. Jury selection began on April 16, 2009, which ultimately consisted of 10 women and 2 men. On May 14, 2009, after testimony and expert witnesses, including a number of doctors of psychiatry, the jury returned a guilty verdict, but they were unable to reach a unanimous verdict on the death penalty. As a result, Amy Hebert was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. Amy appealed the verdict to the Louisiana First Circuit Court of Appeal, which upheld the lower court's decision. She tried a habeas relief in state court, which was denied. Ultimately, she failed in all her attempts to find deficiencies in the verdict or the process. She is currently held in the Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women. Did Amy's defense team and the 12-member jury try to reconcile with her insanity plea, her disdain for her husband, his fiancée, the letters, and the reasons she gave for killing her children? It would appear that having this type of animosity would require some level of unencumbered thinking. And did the jury have a view into Amy's mind before she committed the murders? Neighbor Stacy Stegman testified that she and Amy spent time together and shared activities as members of Victory Life Church. In the month before the murder, in July 2007, Amy and Stacy took their children to a religious camp in Texas. She said she would pray every night with Camille, Stacy said. When she wasn't with Braxton, she was with Camille, Stacy remembered, describing her as a loving and devoted mother who was, quote, protective of her children. Stegman said she crossed paths with Amy twice on the day before the killings. She said Amy would stop her on her way to church on Sunday and greet her. However, later that day, she saw Amy watching Braxton jump on a trampoline at the church. Instead of a greeting, Stegman received an empty glance. Quote, "She gave me this blank look," Stacy said. "She just stayed staring. It was strange to me because I talked to her that morning." Stacy recalled Amy turning her gaze back to Braxton. The moment made Stacy pause. "I just knew it wasn't Amy," Stacy said. "I thought a lot about it and then left."